So I came back here with Donda. Donda being a South African, he also wanted to see Zimbabwe. So he came, he stayed with us. So we all go see Gilbert. Gilbert has now built a studio. By this time, Gilbert has set up Shamiso. Gilbert says to me, why go to South Africa when you can do what you want here and have all the control? So Gilbert offered me shares in Shamiso.
Are you for real?
Yeah, I started messing around initially, just, in his studio, because I needed something to do. You can imagine I'm totally bored.
You're bored, yes.
So I needed something to do, so Gilbert would say, just go to the studio and play around. So I started playing around in the studio, and while I was playing around in the studio, I meet the fourth king.
Who?
Innocent Chuma.
My God, what a man.
So Innocent Chuma just pitches up while I'm making a beat, I'm playing around in the studio, and he's like blown out of his mind. Like,
I know Innocent when he's excited about an idea.
He got excited. Like,
when he's excited.
So Innocent says to me, who are you? I was like, this is who I am. He says, no, man. He goes back, he goes outside, he goes and talks to Gilbert. I don't know what they say. Yeah. Next thing, Innocent is like, I need you to come to the radio station. And
of course, Innocent Chuma then is on the radio, the Millennium Man.
Yes.
And he is on, now it's called 3FM. Is it still Radio 3 or it's not 3FM?
It's 3FM, yeah.
It's not 3FM.
Yeah.
The biggest radio station, youth, urban station in the country.
Yes, and he's playing at midnight.
He's playing at midnight, graveyard.
So he was still a new DJ at the time, and he's like, I need to tell the world about you, because this is what I've been hoping we could find. Some young producer out there who's going to help with the music production. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, I'm not around for a long time. I don't know what your idea is.
And you're really selling this. Probably at some South African honeymoon waiting for you here. Say, come back.
Yeah, I won't say much about that. Yeah, she's in the music industry now, but anyway, I won't say much about it.
Can I take a guess?
Don't.
Maybe not.
So I'm making stuff there, and Innocent is like, I gotta introduce you to some people. I gotta introduce you to some young artists who he used to have this midnight show, and somewhere in the middle of his midnight show, he'd get people to call in and just ask them to rap or ask them to sing as just part of his show. It was just a little.
Yeah, because when you're a young broadcaster, you're looking for special ways to spice up your show, because there's this radio you want to execute that's in your head. Yeah.
So I then said, okay, cool. He invites me to listen to his show. I listen to his show. I then say to him, okay, let's expand this. Talent Quest. What I did with Kimbo Rogers. Let's bring it back. This time we've got a studio to record this stuff. So let's push up. Get the artists to call. I'll interview them over the phone, like I used to do. Get them to do their thing off air. If they're great, I'll invite them to come to the studio, and I'll record them. And then, having recorded them, we'll bring back the recordings and play them on air. Innocent was for that idea.
As a product.
As a product.
So let's rehearse this to see if I'm getting the sequence of events right.
Yeah.
You come back from South Africa, you want to go back. You got contracts on the table. Yeah. You need a permit. You come back with the best friend.
Yeah.
You go back and you meet one of your mentors.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Gilbert's like, yo, how are you? I've got a studio now. Dreams are coming true.
Right.
And he whispers in your ear, Delani, you can do everything you want to do over there, over here. But you're not hearing it. Because come on, South Africa is waiting, right?
Yes.
You start messing in the studio, but then you are light years ahead in terms of production, because guess what? You've been doing it at the highest level over there, right? And Innocent Chuma is blown away by you.
Yeah. Innocent Chuma took a piece. He said, just give me an instrumental. He took a little recording, went and played it on radio. And then he says, I want to play this for you. And I want you to all tell me, where do you think this was made? He plays the instrumental on radio and he asks people to phone in. So people were phoning and said that was produced in America, that was produced by Teddy
People
Riley.
are blown away.
It was produced, and they mentioned a long list of different producers who are all international. And I'm sitting there thinking that people think this stuff sounds international. Okay, great, that's great. Then he says, no, this guy is a Zimbabwean guy. He's here in the country, and he made this stuff in a studio, in Gilbert's studio. So those of you who are serious, want an opportunity to be recorded, we're going to start a new program, and this program is going to showcase local talent. In the middle of the night, midnight, for an hour on ZBC, 3FM. And I just thought, oh, gosh, he's starting something that I'm not going to be able to finish because I'm only here for a bit, then I'm gone.
But what the heck? I'm bored.
But anyway, let's just see where it goes. So in that space, I meet up Nyaradzo, who's better known as ENI.
Oh man,
Nyaradzo and Portia.
Nyaradzo and Portia.
So rapper singers, better known as ENI. They came through.
Hi, this is Aya from ENI, and this is my story about how the musical journey started. You'll remember, hopefully, I Bopela, Popela, Shankai Bopela. This is Aya.
By the way, they have my favorite song on The Future. Probably my top 5 favorite records
Ever.
in Zimbabwe. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Popela. That's my record.
Oh, wow.
Like, what?
Yes, thank you.
Delani is a very interesting guy. So I think at first point of contact, I suppose because we were the very first group maybe to meet with him, he was very welcoming. But of course, he always has this bit of skepticism where he's like, okay, that's the vibe I got. I don't know whether that's the vibe he wants to give off. So Delani, wherever you are, that's the vibe I got. So he's like, okay, fine. So what can you do? You know, then, so I figured, okay, I may as well just don't reinvent the wheel. Just stick to what you did before. You do it again right here. So yeah, so we did the chaos rap, and this time Portia was there, and he was like, yeah, we're going with this, you know.
So I meet them. I also meet David Chifunyise through that.
Oh, David was also calling.
I think David was calling, or at least if not, Innocent knew him somewhere in the mix of things. And that's sort of where I began. The first people I recorded were ENI with a song called Chaos.
How did you meet Delani? Okay, I met Delani. It's actually a funny story. So there's this one time I was in town. I remember I was in town and I was working, and then I don't know why I asked about the studio, and I ended up on a seventh I can't remember what the other road was. In Panikamaka studio, I remember. So I was like, let me just do so in young. So I just took a strap up to 7th. And then I walked into the studio. So it was still like a small, I think it was the 2-room studio. It's separated. So I walked in, and then I got there and I was like, I'm looking for a studio. Then Delani was like, yeah, come in. So I came in and I sat down and I saw other guys sitting down. So I was waiting to hear, like, how much is it to record? How do they do it? What kind of songs? And then Delani says, yeah, we're recording people, but right now we're trying to do a project, and we're recording people for free. I was like, what? Recording for free? What? And I listened, and we talked a bit, and then I ended up spending almost the whole day at the studio that day, and then we'd come to the decision that I was going to come the next day to record.
I step out of the studio one day, Gilbert's studio. I open the door and there's a line of people who are sitting outside.
Waiting to be recorded.
I'm like, who are you? Why are you here? And I'm being told that, no, we're told that
this is where it's at.
This is where it's at. So
what does that do to you? What does that moment do to you?
It became real.
Yes.
Because you can imagine from when I was 12, I'm dreaming about this moment.
This is the moment. This is the place.
I'm dreaming about the moment, and here is the moment. I am 20 something years old, 22, 21, and there it is. You know, young people are responsive. And then Innocent started calling me Step Aside. He started saying that I don't know, people are like, who's this guy? What's his name? And he's like, I can tell you his name, but I'm just going to call him Mr. Step Aside.
Why Step Aside?
His view was step aside American producers.
We got Delani
Step aside
now.
South African producers. Step aside UK European producers. We have our own Zimbabwean producer
So
who can produce something international, who can produce something of quality and of standard.
So Step Aside was selling the Zimbabwean dream to say we can be competitive on the same level as these people.
Yes.
So it was just not a Step Aside Timberland, Step Aside Babyface.
Yeah.
Step Aside.
It was the hope.
It was the hope.
Yeah, I think it was more the hope that now we can do something, and more than anything, because Innocent was in the right space and also buying into the dream, because he bought into the dream of taking the local music and putting it out there, not just in a simple way. We tried it with Kimball, but there was no expertise to create it and make it original. And as much as all the artists who came when I was 15 were singing original material, it still wasn't a full-on product. It didn't carry its own melodies and its own tunes and sound like a complete song. So with this, Gilbert being in the right space with a studio, Innocent being on ZBC, hungry and thirsty to create a different type of radio show, all of them passionate about young music, wanting to see young music out there, me being in a space where I'm like, okay, let's create it. I've got the experience to record people. I've seen it all these years.
Are you still half-half? Because you just encountered a Gilbert who's in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
Innocent Chuma is hungry for this. He wants it. But you still have contracts in South Africa, and your best friend is still at the house to remind you we're not here for long.
Yeah.
Are you still half-half in this period?
No, I'm not half-half. I'm still sold on going to South Africa.
But you're like, let's create it anyway.
I'm like, we got time, because we were told our permits should take 3 months, but we were already now in month 2.5 and nothing had happened. We were heading, when I started recording people, we were now getting into month 4, and still Home Affairs had not spoken about our documents. So we were like, we'll continue to kick it for as long as it goes.
So when this project started, you were literally just recording artists so that you can play them on the radio. It's not for a compilation. You're not trying to create an album.
No.
You're not. It's none of that.
Yeah, it was just record, get it out there, record, get it out there. It was, I think, when we stumbled over David Chifunyise and Willem Tite. Because when I came across Willem Tite, amazing, man. When I came across Willem Tite, I already had a certain reverence of respect for him because I knew him from the Mateo days. So I'm no longer just dealing here with an unknown. I'm dealing here with a guy who's been on TV, a guy who's recorded. And Gilbert brought Willem Tite and said, look, let's work on something. And at the time I was working on an instrumental, which you now know as Ndinoda Wangu Wekumaruzevu.
Classic tune.
So I was just working on that instrumental just as a tune, just making a beat. Willem walks in and I didn't hear him. And he starts singing in the back. Dina ta 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 ta, da 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 da. And I thought, okay. And I'm still making this beat. He continues. And he kicks in with the chorus. He starts penning this thing to the beat that I'm doing. And I'm not doing the beat for him. I'm just making a beat. And then Gilbert introduces me to him and says, look, has worked together with Willem. He wants to build him as a Shamiso artist and so forth.
This is in 2000.
Yeah. So we started working on the Dinoda Wangu song. At the same time, David had come in and David had expressed interest because he would come with his guitar. And then I said to David, I need something that is nostalgic. I need something that takes us back to our parents, but marries us to where we are now. So do you know or have something in mind? He gave me a couple of ideas, and I think after a couple of days, he came back and says, you know what, there's an old wedding classic called Tawianai. Do you know it? And I didn't know it. I didn't know it at the time. I'd never heard it before. He came and he sang it for me, and I thought, okay, that works. We started putting the Tawianai song.
So it ended up being quite late, and so Delani he was living in Groombridge, and I was living in Venona, so we'd catch the same combi. So it was just like, just wait, and then we'll go home together. You live in Venona, right? So we catch the same combi hanging out. So then I remember we were sitting in the combi. It was now quite dark. It was about 7 or 7:30, and we were at the back of the combi, and we were just talking. And then I was like, but I've got this other song. I really want to record this song. He says, well, what is it about? Then I said, let me sing it for you. So then I sang the song. So we were bopping from town until we got close to Groombridge. I was like, that's the song. We're going to record that song tomorrow. That's the song I'm going to record. Find someone who's going to sing the chorus. Tomorrow I come to the studio, record it. So now I went home and I was like, eesh, where am I going to get to record? Because I knew no one who artist-wise. So then I talked to my sister, like, Asha, Asha, can you help me? Can you come to the studio? So she had something she was doing the next day. But I tried to convince her. I said, okay, I'll try and see if I can make it. But then what she was eventually doing turned out to come through, so she needed to go. So I was like, tight, what do I do? So then I just went to the studio, like, I don't know what's gonna happen, I'm just gonna go to the studio. So I just went there and who's gonna sing the chorus? I was like, my sister was supposed to come, but she had already supposed to go do something, so she went. So that day in the studio, I think Aya was there as well. She was going to record something there. So she was already a few minutes. She was like, yeah, you're going to have to do this. She's like, oh, okay, cool. And that's how Delani was recorded.
Wait. Before you move from that moment, what was it about? You seem like when I listened to all your records, you had a philosophy. Rocky even mentioned it in the Chamembe story that you always mentioned about a song that takes you back to your mother. Or Take 5 mentioned it, like you had a philosophy on how you made this music. What was this philosophy?
I wrote music for my parents.
But how, when you wanted to appeal to your peers?
I wrote music for my parents. So one thing I learned strictly from my parents was, my parents were melodic. Okay, so coming from a Zulu, Xhosa background, you find a lot of our music is melodic. So it had to have a nice tune, firstly. And then, if I was going to write the lyrics, the lyric had to mean something. It had to connect to something. Then now came the trick. How do you marry this and make it mass market? So it takes me back again to Radio 2, Radio Zimbabwe. What is it about Radio Zimbabwe that makes it the biggest broadcasting radio station in the country? The language. So I always had a philosophy that the beat has to sell itself musically. So it had to have a nice melody. So that was my responsibility. I always had to ensure that no matter what, the song had a melody. You know, you can hear the tune. So even when I was working with the artists, I would press on them to give me nice melodies. If they couldn't create nice melodies, I created the melody that I thought was nice. So I would give them a melody and say, I want you to write lyrics to this tune. So I would write a lot of the choruses and I would write. So it was always a philosophy that write a song that my mother would actually like, write a song that my father would actually like, but give it a twist, make it appealing to myself and my peers, whether we're throwing hip hop on it, whether we're throwing dancehall on it, whether we're making it R&B on it. And it was now marrying the urban sound that I had grown up listening to, taking the traditional elements of melody, giving it a story that's applicable, that everybody can relate to, and then singing it in the local language.
You should teach a class, bro. That's the whole thesis.
So that became the premise of every single song. Artists would come into studio looking to record. They would come and rap to me in English. I would tell them, go away. Come back when you're ready to sing in Shona.
Who are some of those artists?
When you're ready to sing in Ndebele, come back when you're ready to do that.
Leonard tells a story that he came to you and out-rapped everyone in English, and you're like, nah, don't do that.
Yeah, there were many guys, so many people who came, and some didn't want to change. You know, some were very true to their art. They said, I rap in English because I want to go international, wah, 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 wah. I sing in English, I want to go international. People, you know, they stuck to that. And I didn't force or enforce too many changes. I tried to do the aspect of convincing people, where I would say, look, I would prefer you to consider it, you know. And if I did find somebody who was very hard, strong about it, for instance, Kingpin.
I was going to ask that.
Kingpin wanted to do it in English, but he was just too good, you know. And
way ahead of his time.
It was then a bit of a challenge to take that away from him. And because as well, we were at that infancy where I didn't really know where it was going to go. I didn't know whether people were going to like it or not. So we tried it all. We did it all. So it was try all the genres, try all the languages, you know, try all the sounds, you know, try silly pop, try serious pop, try neo soul, try bubblegum soul,
try
dancehall, try hip hop, try mbatanga, try kwaito, try it all, and just sort of put it out there and see what picks up. So what that era did in the beginning, where we were just churning stuff out, because I think we churned about 7 songs or so before Gilbert came up with the idea to say, let's put together these songs into a compilation.
Do you remember the songs that you chained out? The first 7 songs?
No, not really. I know definitely Bopela, a nice song.
Oh, Bopela actually came out before the Future compilation.
That was part of the Future, because it was a song that I did when I was working with ENI. So the compilation wasn't really an idea at the time. It was just songs. So Bopela was a song.
What does Bopela mean anyway?
Oh, you're going to have to ask Radza about that.
What was that about?
The number of times I have been asked about Bopela. Yeah, I've been asked quite a number of times. But Bopela, it is a word that we made. Yes, and I think it should be put in the in the dictionary now that it's been used so much. But it was derived from the word bop, to bop, with being to dance. It's like So Bopela was to dance. We extended it because it sounded better. It sounded nicer. It fit into the song better. So, at the risk of bursting your bubble, first of all, I'll say that song was composed in a math lesson. So it was an afternoon daydream.
For me, it just sounded like a happy song.
And it's still a happy song.
And I thought the kiddies market, there's a nice young, I thought, okay, great, that'll work for the kids. Let's go with that.
And you did like a really
calypso.
Hey, I was like, this is so fire.
So Bopela was there, Tawiana was done. Guess.
Amai.
When we did Amai. Yes, so
all those songs were already playing on the radio before the Future came out?
Yeah, some of the songs were playing on the radio.
Tawiana was already playing?
Yeah. So we hadn't really figured out what to do with it. And it was Gilbert who thought, let's just put them all together and create an album and create a song. There was only one song I didn't record in the whole Future. That was the Mr. Slimes song. Because I knew Simon, Mr. Slimes, from Tricks and Games.
Right.
From, remember, back
in the day.
So he heard that the compilation is being done, and he says, "D, can I just send you a song that that we can do?" And I said, "Send it." He sent it. It sounded good. I just took it, added it to the compilation as it was.
So.
And he's out in the UK, and he did it in the UK.
So the Future is being recorded. The songs are being recorded.
Yeah.
You haven't decided it's going to be a compilation yet. They're being thrown on the radio.
Yeah.
The only radio personality who's still playing this records at the time is just still Innocent.
Yep, Innocent, but no, there were a couple others who took a chance. Witness Matema took a chance with us. He liked a few of the tracks played. Davis Mugaza did the same thing. So some of the new DJs, DJ Munya, who came incidentally to me before he joined radio. I recorded DJ Munya's
Get out of here.
radio demo.
You did Munya's radio demo?
Yeah, he wanted to be on radio, didn't know much, so the little bit I knew from radio, I helped him along to record his radio demo.
At Shamiso?
Yeah, we did a Shamisokli, yeah, when the studio was still at Gilbert's house in Borido, yeah.
So help me see this. If the Future then dropped later, right? And Tauya Naya was already out.
It was already a popular song by the time.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
No.
Like Tauya Naya was.
Yeah,
I don't think.
But it took a while, because you must recognize every song that goes out, give or take, it needs at least 2 to 3 months to gain momentum. A lot of people don't know that it takes 3 months for that. Now you must imagine, it's playing quite extensively on a midnight show, so there's only few people who are listening to it. But it begins to gain some traction where other DJs like Mugaza starts playing it. Witness Matema starts playing it. You find
on more earlier shows.
Yes, with the Innocents, and they start, and the Tinashes, they start playing it. You start finding as well Kudzi started playing some stuff. You know, Peter Jones took a bit of a while to catch on to it, but he eventually started. But you know, James Maridadi started playing it. So it was all these little, like I say, previous relationships and relationships that Chuma had made as well with his own peers, because those guys were also part of the generation.
Please play this record.
Yeah, and some of them were listening to Chuma's show to say, "Oh, I really like that," and they started picking up. So that 20%, those 2 songs we're slowly substituting those with some of the newer stuff that people, were creating. So we had artists like your Chifunyesa starting to make the inroads. And then before you know it, we're hitting the charts. Okay, so
Tauyana hits the charts.
Tauyana is
Opela hits the charts.
So now people are beginning to hear this now on mainstream, on primetime radio, and that's when the momentum of this thing begins to take.
So take me to the
shape.
place where the Future drops. Like when the Future eventually dropped, what does it mean? Because for the first time, people can now go buy this music. Because when it was just Tauya and I, people couldn't go buy it, right?
Well, yeah. What happened is because there was no reality for us to create an album for each artist. My suggestion with Gilbert was that let's see who breaks out of this. Let's see who gains traction. Let's see who gets popular.
Then we work on them.
Then we collectively start to work on it. So we thought, okay, we'll compile all these 16 songs, release them, and just watch. See who gets popular, see who is the biggest song, and from there, we can start working on individual projects. And hence, we titled it The Future, because we felt that this is the future going forward in Zimbabwean music. The sound in itself is the future. The artists themselves are breaking ground towards the future.
Right.
It's the first of its kind. We had Piece of Ebony, we had Metaphysics, we had Mischief from, who was in South Africa. We had Dumi Maraire.
Who was in the States.
Who was out in the States. We had Matonto, Calvin and Muzi. We had Fortune and Parutsa.
Yes. All those people.
All those young guys who had all sort of done their own thing wherever they were doing them.
But it was not
nobody put it together.
Together, yeah.
So this was sort of like a testing ground. And even our conversation with the artist was, look, we are all unknown. Shamiso is still young as a recording company.
Right.
Named after Gilbert's daughter.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Gilbert's first child, her name is Shamiso.
So that's where Shamiso comes from, Shamiso
Yes.
Entertainment.
Right, so
Right.
Shamiso is still young there. Number two, we are still young. I'm an unknown, we're unknown. The company doesn't have any cash flows, to speak of. Gilbert is funding the CD and these cassettes from his own pocket.
Right.
I am sort of buying time. You must understand. I'm
Yes.
still buying
South
time.
Africa is still calling.
Hello.
Of course.
I'm getting calls from Lance McCormack and Dion Stern saying, Delani, how far?
Plus, besides,
has
the
your
air is
permit
quite
come through?
different out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm still getting calls to say, are you coming? Or how far with your permit? And I'm listening to the radio and then I'm hearing David Chifunyi say, number one.
Number one.
With Peter Johns.
Dun, dun.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is something different now.
And remember that line you saw when you walked out the studio? Now it was like 5 times over.
Yeah, because now people now know it's being recorded.
Right.
So we are out on the corner of 7th and some road. Can't remember. 7th and
Yeah, that road.
I think it's Union Avenue. I think that's what it was called then.
Now Kwame Nkrumah, yeah.
Yeah, so we're on the corner of that. Gilbert has rented out a space there, set up a studio, and one day, it's packed with people, young people. And then they're all asking, hey, Mr. D, please, can you hear me? Can you audition me? And I thought, oh my goodness. So I had to create a schedule around auditioning people. I never really turned away people. I just didn't have the capacity to listen to everybody. So for those who I never got a chance to, I'm sorry. But I was a one-man army.
So you were no co-producer?
No, I just had, no, I didn't have a co-producer. There were just some artists who were willing to help. Sort of,
like Take 5, for example?
Yeah, Take 5, Mad Flavor, they were willing to help. Yeah, Tatenda was definitely, whenever he was not in school, because he was still at school at the time, so you just had people who just come through and try to help. Innocent as well, with Chuma would come through, would hang out in the studio and try to help.
Because his show is at midnight, so.
Yeah, so he's around. So it was just sort of working the admin, because you got to bring in one artist at a time, listen to them. And I felt it was my responsibility to sort of do some artists a favor. There were some artists who were very good, who needed to be given that assurance that you can make something of this if you put a bit of time and energy.
Like who?
I felt Leonard Mafumo was one of the first guys I discovered. I just didn't record him in 2000 because he sounded too much like David Chifunyise. So I told him, I can't record you now. You got great hope, you got great, diction, you sound like you know what you're talking about, but I can't record you now. He says to me, but why D?
Why D?
And I'm like, because you sound like David, So
Now that you say this.
I can't bring two of you into the market sounding alike because they're just going to give credit to the other guy.
But confirm, David was the first superstar they all created.
Yeah, David is the one who gave us the nod.
My parents didn't even know I had recorded anything. So at my sister's wedding now, my sister was getting married, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to do something special. Then we put the CD in, and we played the song, and everyone went crazy. Everyone went crazy. Even some guys who were just there, who knew me from my days back in Chipawa, because I was in Chipawa as well when I was young. They just went crazy. What song is this? Who sang this song? Who sang this song? And I was like, yeah, it's my song. And that was the first time China was released. From then on, then we did the video. It was released to radio, and it just blew up. I can't really say I was expecting it to blow up like that. I really wasn't.
Because not only did we have the success on 3FM, it went to Radio Zimbabwe, it went to Radio 2,
It went
to Radio 4, it went to Radio 1, it went to weddings. And
parties.
Yeah, All of a
everywhere.
sudden, we're thinking, oh my God, like this is a monster.
Even that coolest, hottest girl
Yeah.
was listening to David.
Yeah. So
Everybody.
it gave us the nod, and more than anything, it gave everybody else the hope.
That we can do this.
Because now you're listening to a guy who is your age on radio, who was discovered on a radio show while you were busy listening to it. And here he is, he's out there, so it made it real.
So people were also part of the process.
Yeah.
So they could see it happening.
Especially
like,
the artists who did get an opportunity to listen to Innocent's show. Because you'll find that through Innocent's show, that moved from being a 1-hour radio show. Okay, so between 12 o'clock and midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning, we played the local artist. He ended up dedicating his whole show to playing local music. Because not only was I a contributor to that, there were smaller other producers across the country who were doing similar things.
Like who?
Trying to remember his name. This guy in Mutare.
DJ Maraz?
It's DJ Maraz, yeah.
Is it Maraz, yeah?
Yeah, he's the guy who produced Enemy.
Enemy, yeah, Chenge.
Yes.
He did Chenge.
Exactly.
But you later work with Enemy though.
Yes, I did. He started bringing up stuff from Mutare.
And Project Fame.
There were some guys in Bulawayo as well who were sending stuff. So these guys were just sending stuff to us. And I was the sort of co-producer of the radio show, because I would go to the station now with Innocent every day, every time he was on air. And midnight, I'll be auditioning the artists, giving him, deciding, who's going to come to the studio the next day or who's going to come to the studio the next week. So we were discovering people. We were still putting people on air. We were then talking to some of those guys who had been discovered on that show to say, now that you've got your song out, tell us about your new song, because now it's been recorded. So all your Bantu hunters are being put on air, so people were being given that light. Nyaradzi Makwanda was
yeah, because they were that tune with Willem Tite from the future, yeah.
So everybody's getting a bit of airtime, and people are seeing how real it is. But I'm having to audition these guys during the day as well, while I'm still trying to make beats, and
whilst you're too trying to mix the songs.
Yes,
and master the songs.
And master the songs and compose with them. So it became a challenge now, because some were just really good and most were just really bad. And the sad thing is that a lot of the time people don't tell you what they really think about your talent. You're 17 years old, you come from your mother, from your brother, who is telling you, oh, you sound great, go audition. You jump onto this talent show, you go audition thinking you sound great. Then you meet some guy like me, and then I tell you the real truth of what I think. And the reality is that some could have developed to get better, but at the rate that everybody's creativity works, if you're not almost as good as Beyonce, it will take you a very long time to catch up, because Beyonce is not stopping. She doesn't get any worse, if you know what I mean.
She gets better.
She gets better with her talent. So I had a very, very hard cutoff line in terms of artists.
But didn't that make you the Grinch that stole Christmas, where everyone's looking at you like, this guy is...
Yeah, there were some people I think who didn't like the fact that I shattered their dreams. Because he walks in, he auditions for me, and within 30 seconds I'm telling him, sorry, don't waste your time with this.